Okay, we're in the building. Yes, indeedy, feed the needy. You're sorry, Sifu Kwazi in the building live. As you can see, back live, and it's been a couple weeks, so I apologize. I'm fully back live and live and direct. Okay.
Don't just stand there, like and subscribe.
Get it started right away. Go ahead and show some love by by subscribing if you can. Show some love, share the video for people out there that you think would like to enjoy this content as well as you, because I know y'all are out there, and I appreciate you guys as usual being in the chat with me for a second, being in the room live with me. Okay, so we're gonna get started with things right away. It's Sunday. I don't usually do this on a Sunday, but I've been remiss because the last couple of weeks I've been just so busy with life in general, testing, as you guys know, for those who've been keeping up with me on my socials and everything. Had my final black belt test a couple of weeks ago, so that's in the bag. I'm very happy that process is done. Yep. Shouts. Anybody out there, my fellow martial artists, you want to relay some of your training stories, even black belt stories, and even people that may be out there that have tested for black belts in any particular style, let me know. I'm always curious about that. But my stuff is finally finished, so I'm finally able to get back in the swing of things and doing lives. We're going to go back to Friday nights, by the way. This is just a special one on Sunday because this past Friday, I also had a lot going on. So I figured we'd start today nice and fresh. And it's Sunday's BET Sunday out here. I'm in Los Angeles. So a lot of people that I work with, because I'm in the radio world, are out doing BET activities. But I decided not to do all that because I had a lot going on in my weekend regardless. And if I didn't have to be out there working, I was not going to. So, and it gives me an opportunity to talk to the audience again. So hopefully everyone's doing very well. Leave your questions, comments, leaving all my socials down here for you guys to catch up with me. But checking in with you guys, hopefully everything's good. Now, listen, I'm going to start right off the bat because tonight's going to be a special episode of Live. We're going to get into some territory I don't usually get into, a little bit of sci-fi, Star Wars, but only because we're talking the mixture of the martial arts in that. But before we get to that, got to let you know I dropped a brand new video just yesterday. Our Kung Fu Combo series is rolling. It's actually episode number 10. This time I talked about Karjitsu and pillow fighting. There's a pillow fighting championship. We did a live on this a few weeks back. In fact, I think the last live that I did, we talked about, yes, Karjitsu. It is a thing. So the new video I have up now, you guys can check it out. In fact, to give you guys a quick little preview here. Who's that? Oh, if you thought that was something, oh, Chase, I know it's been a course it gets out there tomorrow. I'm going to go right to the part here where we talk specifically about these arts. A lot of these videos, I basically started this with it's just my take on a lot of the bullshito that we see out there. So I always, have some commentary on a lot of the crap that we see out there. Stuff like this, which, yes, this is done for parody. A guy using freaking pizza dough to spar or whatever. But it falls right in vein or in the same in the same lane as a lot of this other bullshito, which we talk about right now, which was basically pillow fighting first, because there's a PFC, a pillow fighting championship. Yes, there's a PFC pillow fighting championship. So we talk about that in the video. Yes. Race for impact, because this is a thing. This is an actual thing, people. Pillow fighting is an actual sport on a TV platform. Okay, apparently I've been living under a rock because the Professional Fight Championship is live and on ESPN 1625, whatever. It's developed back during, the pandemic, which makes sense. You had a time when people couldn't have a lot of contact, especially in sports. So back in January of 2022, to be exact, there was a ban for socially distant sports and entertainment. You had, believe it or not, skilled mixed martial artists and boxers were drawn to the idea of using pillows as a weapon in a sport fight fashion. But forget all that. It's an actual sport with rules.
What did he say?
Yep. Bouts are 90 seconds. And rule 1, you can't use any part of your body to hit. You can't drop your pillow. You can't grab an opponent or their pillow. There's no pushing or charging, no two-handed overhead strikes. The point system favors you hitting someone to the head. That's 1 point, all right? Knockdowns are 5 points. There's leg strikes, there's 1 point. All this has a true...
This is the Pillow Fight Championship.
All right. Yeah, so again... Sorry, I was muted there. So I go over the rules and everything, and then we get into the nitty gritty about the actual genre now, and I can call it that because it's been in effect, the Pillow Fighting Championship for over 2 years. It started in 2022 officially, and from what I hear now, they're actually different markets, so different countries, I should say, are also hosting these bouts. Billions and billions of people are watching this thing, not just millions, billions with a B. More highlights. They've got their own designer pillows. So I just want to know if the My Pillow guy's gotten in on this act.
Looks like you've been sleeping.
Yeah, and I still wanted, that would be an amazing sponsorship. I'm pretty sure that guy's hit him up already. Anyway, long and short of it, I go through the rules and what you can, what you can't do. Just like I talked about on the live a little while ago. And it's something, yeah, it's a thing. It's actually a thing. Then we talk about the, not to be outdone, Karjitsu, also a thing. Who knew? Also a few years old. So people are into this, and they're into it for a reason, because there's this to me is a little more legit. It's jujitsu in a car. That's 2 points, but those points may not necessarily affect the outcome of the match. And again, I talk about the rules in the video and stuff and set it up, and then I get to some actual clips of some bouts. If the score is tied, so the competitor
unbuckle and engage using any part of the vehicle to their advantage. Points may be awarded during the match, but have no bearing on the outcome. It takes a submission to win the round at Karjitsu Championship. If the bout is even after 2 rounds, we go to a 3rd round and possibly sudden death to decide a winner.
Yep, there you go. So it's also worth noting that competitors can use any part of the car to their advantage. And yeah, any part of the car, you can strangle people with the seatbelt. It gets kind of crazy, and people win this thing by submission, just like jujitsu, but you're in a car. I thought I talked about the validity of this because not only as a sport, a combat sport, but also real world use, because you can always get attacked anywhere, and getting attacked in a car is not out of bounds. So we talk about that, and that's why I found this to be a little more valid than the pillow fighting competition. However, the pillow fighting competitions have a lot more eyes on them. A lot more people are watching pillow fighting than are watching Karjitsu. So Karjitsu, you guys need to step up your game. Yeah, so long and short of that, guys, the video is online. I'll drop it's on the channel, I should say. I'll drop the link for it down below sports in the description, and you guys can check this down below. So good times, and we talk a lot of bullshito like we usually do, and maybe even give you guys a laugh or two. So worth your time if you never checked out one of these. Let me know what you think about the series in general. Would love to get your feedback. All right, so we're gonna roll right on. Like I said, my black belt, I received my 2nd degree in Krav Maga. I've been training in martial arts for over 25 years now in general, both traditional martial arts, and now in the last 6 years, Krav Maga has also been part of my martial arts world. So just did a test there. Now, when it comes to this, though, the actual journey or the experience going for the first black belt was difficult enough. The second go round, I definitely found a little more challenging, a lot more of that things that I had to add to tools I had to add to my toolbox, so to speak, more responsibilities. It's a 4-part test. So meaning there's 4 different tests that us as a team, and there's a team of us, 10 people in this particular team, that we all had to accomplish. We had 3 pre-tests and then 1 final. So I finally did, got to wait. Finally did my final just 2 weeks ago. And yeah, it was something. So starting from even the beginnings, just want to take a look here at, just some pics and some moments from the beginning of the process, even back from the very first test. And let's see here. Let's say, there we go. All right. So want to get to, just a few images from that first test. This was the very first one that we did. So again, this is a four test process. This was the very first one we did back in February. We did one again in March, then in April. Then we were had a 2-month stint until we finally did our final in June. This was me doing some of the pad work and the combo work that we were asked to do. This one, fun fact, I was actually sick as a dog that night, super sick. But I pushed myself and got through the test. In all fairness, I probably shouldn't have even tested just for the fact that I didn't want to get anyone else sick. But just the long and short of it, having to, even the details of setting up, having, figuring out how to set up a makeup test and all that, it just, I thought would have been a lot. So that's why I didn't bow out, even though I felt like crap, but I got through it. And it wasn't the worst performance, but I definitely know I could have done better had I been in better health. Anyway, we'll fast forward here to last week's test. This is a few of the guys, me obviously included there. This is all of us, the team as a whole, you can see. This is us before we started the test. Did the national anthem there, and then we start the test. A few kids there as well on the test, so they went for their junior black belts. Starting here, doing combos, same thing. It's pretty much the same sequence. We start off with what we call a cauldron, which is just a set of just combatives and defenses and self-defense techniques, I should say. Oops, that's the wrong shot. And we go through that for about 40 plus minutes. There's a little bit of gun disarming and whatnot, and just straight combatives, kicking, punching, hitting, throwing, all that sort of great stuff. Some sparring, some grappling, never a dull moment. I'm going to tell you that, but well worth it. Actually have a recap of that for you guys to check out. So if you guys haven't checked it out already, I have that on the channel as well. It's like a quick little 2-3 minute recap of my test. So you guys are going to see it now. And like I said, it's a breakdown. Everything I just talked to you guys about. I'll turn the music down a little bit so I don't get a little copyright ding here. You guys can see though, we do all these combatives that I talked about in the beginning, and just it's all about just staying in the fight. So, your press, it's about duration 4+ hours, maybe from start to finish. We started at 1:30. By the time we got out of there, it was definitely after 5, going on 6. So it was a long day, but again, well worth it. Do a lot of self-defense techniques, like I said, weapon disarming. So from stick to knife to gun, rifle, tie combos, as you can see here. And you're just going. There's parts where you just got to suck it up. There's parts where you think you're like, oh man, how am I gonna do more? But you find a way. It's like anything else. If you really want it bad enough, right? So yeah, thankful for a lot of the instructors and all the people that helped out. My pad holder here, Daniel, helped me out a great deal that day, so props to him. A lot of people at my Burbank Krav school as well. Got to give the Burbank Krav fam some love, as well as the AKMF family in general. That's the American Krav Maga Federation. So we're part of that federation. A few different ones when you look at Krav Maga in the States. But all branches of we branched off from Worldwide, which was John Whitman's group. So all the techniques are pretty much the same and stuff that you'll see being taught just universally out here in the States. But yeah, I'll leave a link for this video as well down in the description, so you guys can check this out at your leisure. You don't have to sit here all night and watch it, but pretty much just the highlights. That'll be fun, so I threw it up there. But yeah, let me know if people are out there that have tested and have tested for their black belts. Let me know what particular style you guys have tested and would love to hear from you guys. Bikini Bill fights would be good. Fuse. So just checking out the chats. It says Bikini pillow fights would get views. Yeah, I guess they would for sure. Whole Cosmos, shout out to Whole Cosmos. Congrats on the Krav Maga belt. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Yeah, and like I said, I'll leave the link down for this video down below, so you guys can check that out at your leisure. And yeah, you can see for yourself at least a little quick recap of that day. People have asked me, are there differences in testing for Krav versus when I did traditional? And yes, the answer is yes, definitely. There's some good and bad differences, maybe in different whatever. It's different styles. You know, Krav Maga is more martial, a little less art. So there's no katas, no forms. It's just a lot, as you see, combative self-defense techniques and sparring and grappling and all that mixed in on one big old test. So yeah, versus traditional, which, like I said, I started my whole journey in traditional martial arts 25 plus years ago, more than that now. And that had its challenges as well. And when I started going for black belt, I would say challenge wise for black belt, the first ones, yeah, that had its own mix of challenges. But by far, my first belts, when I started belt testing in Krav Maga, as far as just cardio and straight, just that feeling of being beat down, yeah, Krav definitely gets the nod on that. And it's not to knock traditional martial arts, because again, they've got their own challenges. I had a lot of challenges, but as I moved on, and I would definitely say as I moved on towards my instructor sash and particularly my master sash, I definitely had challenges. In fact, I failed my first master test in Kung Fu. That was a long day, and it was just, I had to know like 50 plus forms and just do 10 on the spot and go. So different styles, different challenges, and everything, you know, has its, you know, like it has its purpose and, you know, has its lane. But both traditional and self-defense were both had their own challenges for me. Sorry guys, I'm a little out of it, just kind of getting back in here. I'm just watching some of these highlights too as I go here talking to you guys, and kind of thinking to myself as well. But the long and short of it, yes, I always get asked, are there differences in testing in traditional versus Krav? And the answer is completely yes, because they're two different styles of martial art. But I don't put anyone higher than the other. It's just different aspects of each style testing for them. As the differences is what makes things more challenging. Physically, though, I will give the little extra nod to Krav for being a lot more challenging, especially as I've gotten older. When I started in Kung Fu, I was a lot younger. So that, of course, is a benefit. Being older now, I'm definitely more into the practical styles and just doing less of the flashy and more of the practical. If I, God forbid, have to get into a skirmish, I really don't want things to take long. So I'm not trying to be out there trying to fight for more than like a few minutes, if at all. My Nike defense is on point, I'm gonna tell you that. If I can run, I'm running. But yeah, man, so yeah, do feel free to drop your comments and let me know if you've had particular tests in martial art. If you're a martial artist, what styles have you trained in, and let me know how your particular testing went. Mine in general have all gone pretty well. I've had my peaks and valleys for sure, my ups and downs, but this last test was definitely a beast. So thanks for everyone that's chiming in and checking in. Okay, like I said, special episode tonight because you're going to get a little bit nerdy, and for you Star Wars fans, you're going to love it, because I had to break down for those. Well, let me back this up. For people that are fans at all of Star Wars first, hey, what's up? Also, if you're fans of the Disney Star Wars films, and that's a divisive topic because a lot of the Disney films, meaning all the sequels, everything after the prequels. So, you know, just a quick recap, if you're not a Star Wars person at all, we had episodes 4, 5, and 6. George Lucas specific did those 70s, 80s. Then he did prequels in the 90s on up to 2000. And then we got sequels in the later 2000s that Disney took over and did all three of those. So now you have Disney shows, and one particularly that's on now is the Acolyte. There's definitely divisive thoughts on that show because some people love it, some people super hate it. There's a whole lot of hating going on with this show. But let me tell you guys, as a fan just of Star Wars in general, no matter what, the story can be shit, it can be good. If the lightsaber fights are good, there's always at least a redeeming factor. And with this show, I'm gonna give it its props that the lightsaber battles are pretty damn good. The fighting in general is good. In fact, this show started out with a big fight with Carrie-Anne Moss, who was Trinity in The Matrix, fighting the lead character. It's basically the story of twin sisters that you find out. There's May and Osha. One of them is an acolyte or pupil of a, now we know it's a Sith master. And the other one is basically just doing her thing on her own. She left the Jedi Order for whatever reason, but now the stories are just kind of like coming towards the end because it's episode 5 now. And the breakdown, basically, it's set 100 years before Phantom Menace, and it starts off kind of as a mystery. Like I said, one of the twin sisters is out for revenge, killing Jedi, and we don't know exactly why. And that first Carrie-Anne Moss fight is a beast. So talking a little bit about the fighting on there.
Told that I was going to fight Carrie-Anne Moss. I probably would have had a heart attack.
Cut. Nice. Training for the Acolyte was really challenging. Today I feel a tad like a truck hit me.
It was very important to me that the show feel visceral and that the fight sequences feel jaw-dropping.
There's very high energy, high octane stunt work.
What they've done to create these fights is insane.
We took the heavy martial arts, the hand-to-hand combat, all the different styles, and mixed them together to build these sequences.
We use Taekwondo, karate, Krav Maga, Western boxing.
What? Taekwondo? What did he say? Krav Maga? So for those people that say, yeah, Krav Maga and all that, yeah, whatever. All right. I ain't saying it's all that, but when you get used as a style in a movie, it ain't shabby. And by the way, Krav Maga was developed for the Israeli military. They're using it, so there's obviously a benefit. Another argument is because, hey, it's in the States, it's watered down, blah, blah, blah. But again, it's all depending on the instructors teaching it versus the particular style. I always got to mention that.
It is some of the craziest fights.
It's very powerful.
It's pretty special.
Yeah, so if you're a fan or not, this show has been coming on every now, I believe, when do we get it? Like Tuesdays. Every episode's been dropping. We're up to episode 5. So as you can see, that Carrie-Anne Moss fight was a beast. I mean,
we took the heavy martial arts, the hand-to-hand combat, all the different styles, and mixed them together to build these sequences.
We use Taekwondo, karate, Krav Maga, Western boxing.
Yeah, boxing, martial arts, all of it together. So it's not just lightsaber fighting. You've got hand work, knife work, a nice mixture in this show. Okay. I'm impressed by that. The choreography, the fight choreography is pretty good. Now, argumentative whether it's as good when we come to the lightsaber fights, which I'm about to talk about, as good as Nick Gillard's from the prequels, because if the prequels did have a redeeming factor, and there are fans and they're haters on the prequels, but most will agree that the lightsaber fights are pretty good in those movies. And the guy's name is Nick Gillard, who was the stunt coordinator for that. He's the guy that was responsible for bringing you the Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn fight, which we'll talk a little bit about because it has something to do with this. So yes, Acolyte. Are you guys watching? If you're not watching, I suggest you watch just for the fights, even if the story isn't up to snuff for you. Because again, there's a little something for everybody there. I'm going to talk specifically about this last episode because that's where the meat of this is for me. The new episode that just dropped, you got one that was called Day, which was episode 4. It ended on a cliffhanger because, long story short, the characters all go to this one planet, and finally this Sith Master appears, which we don't know is a Sith Master until episode 5. But regardless, the Sith Master appears and takes on a whole bunch of Jedi at one time. But the action doesn't even start until episode 5. You basically end with the guy showing up and force pushing all these Jedi away. And you're like, what the hell? And you got to wait with bated breath for a whole week. So then we waited for a week. We waited for a week and we finally saw this fight. And it didn't disappoint. Now I will say, and yeah, even before I should have even mentioned, spoiler alert, duh. I don't even know if I need to say it, but yeah, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode, just click this off and come on back after you've seen the episode, because yeah, I'm spoiling some stuff here. The fight is the Sith Master versus all these Jedi, and yes, you saw it right. He actually uses his helmet to short circuit lightsabers in this one. So not only is the fight choreography badass, it's pretty unique because we have never seen this in a movie or a show before until this past episode, right? So this guy is basically dismantling these Jedi with no issues at all. He's cutting through them like freaking hot knife through butter, and that's having his way with all these guys until he gets to the Master Jedi, which you'll see in a second here. That's a real cool move. He grabs 2 Jedi at once, or grabs 1 Jedi and pulls 1 Jedi in the blade. Now here's our character Soul, who is the main Master Jedi in this show. He's a lot better skilled, so you'll see this is a longer, harder fight for the Sith to win. But again, let's talk style here, because again, if you don't like the story, I get it. There's a lot of stuff that can be seen as divisive. Yeah, and before we even see this, so this is the Jedi Master's apprentice, Jeki, and she gets to fight the Sith Master as well. They go at it. Now, before we talk about these fights together, I want to talk about styles, because that's really why I'm bringing this up. I'm not here to do a whole Star Wars nerd out thing, because I'm not a Star Wars channel, although I do love it. The fighting styles is what it's about, because there's always a blend of martial arts and sword play that we see in these movies, and some do it really, really well, and some are a little shaky. And there's been evolution over the time, right? Because when George Lucas started these things in 1977, the choreography was nowhere near as on par as it is now, or highly evolved, I should say, right? It was just a lot more gritty back then, because you didn't have all this fancy choreography. Then when you move to the prequels, you got that fancier choreography, and the Jedi looked badass and the Sith looked badass, and everybody was moving and twirling and shaking and moving. It was great. So the styling, though, you've got Jedi, or I should say just lightsaber forms that everyone uses. So outside of the martial arts that we see in the show, they're actually Jedi forms, and I'll talk about them very quickly. There's 7 main forms, and there are 2 extras. So the form that the Sith Master here seems to really, really be adept at is Form 7, a mixture of Form 7. Form 7 is Vapod, but I'm looking here in my notes. Juyo or Vapod can be said as both. So it's a mixture of that, which is a very aggressive style, and the Sith used it. So Sith versus Jedi, Sith bad guys, Jedi good guys, for those that don't know, living under a rock somewhere. And I get it. So anyway, it's a mixture of that, some Jimso, which is the 5th form, which Anakin Skywalker was known very heavily to use, aka Darth Vader. Most people know who Darth Vader is. That's his signature style. It's a mixture of that and something called Jarkai, which is not really a style, but it's the art of using 2 blades at once, which we'll see this young Padawan here, apprentice, use in a few minutes here, as she's trying to go toe-to-toe with this guy. And again, he uses this metal called cortosis to short-circuit these lightsabers. So now, here's the Jedi apprentice using 2 blades at once, which is pretty good. This fight was really good. I thought this part of the fight was good. By the way, before we get to the next part here, something I thought that was really cool in this fight, just as I got to check this out a couple times. And by the way, this fight was so badass. When I saw it Tuesday night, I rewatched the thing like 4 times just on GP, because it was like, up to now, and most people will tell you if you've been watching the show, a lot of the shows have been kind of snoozers. They've been slow paced, a lot of story development. One episode was just complete history for the sisters, a little bit of a snoozer. It was necessary to get the history, but I've been yawning through a lot of these episodes. This was the first one where it was all out action, and like every minute something happened. So anyway, my point was, when I saw this scene here, it reminded me of another scene. And this is the beauty of Star Wars, if you're one of those fans, and if you're into the fights like I am. So she has 2 lightsabers at once. She's fighting the Jedi Sith, or sorry, she's fighting the Sith Master. And that move really brought me back to this move, or this fight, Anakin and Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones. Way back in 2002. I remember watching this in the theaters. That's how old I am. So these guys fight. But before they start fighting with 1 blade, they fight with 2. And you've got a similar setup here. Yep, where Count Dooku chops that sword right in half, so Anakin's down to 1 pretty quickly. It's pretty much dead on, similar moves. So the inspiration's there. They did the same exact move. Pretty badass. It's one way I'll say at least the movies and the shows are connected, and a great way to connect the shows with the movies. Right? That's what I'm saying. All right. So that was just something I noticed. I thought it was very cool. But let's talk again. Let's talk styles. So lightsaber fighting styles. Yeah. So number 1 is the most basic. And that's the one that all all Padawans learn from the very beginning. Form 1's the most basic. Shicho, right? Yeah, and poor Daphne Keen's character here does get chopped up. She gets done. And yeah, that's the big spoiler. So our Sith Master is this guy, Kamir, who had been seen in all these previous episodes. Form 2 is Makashi, which Count Dooku, I just talked about him. He used that style. It's more of like a fencing style. Form 3, Sarisu, is Obi-Wan's style. It's more of a defensive style. Form 4 is Aturo, which is Yoda's style, Master Yoda's style. It's relying heavily on force-assisted acrobatics. As such, Form 4 has only been mastered by Jedi who are strongest in wielding the Force. Similar to Makashi, Aturo is at its best during one-on-one duels, when the Master of Form 4 attempts to conclude a duel as swiftly as possible. Form 5 is probably the most famous, because that's the Sheen or the Jim-So, which I mentioned earlier, and that one's a more aggressive style that Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, used and continue to use. So it was developed by practitioners of Form 3 who saw the need for more offensive edge. Sheen is designed for distance, allowing practitioners to swat back blaster bolts, while Jim-So is designed for blade-on-blade combat. It uses an unconventional reverse grip, which is why Ahsoka Tano favored Jim-So, etc., etc. Although Anakin used the traditional style. Form 6 Niman was used by Darth Maul, very famously. So the style that this Sith Master is using, though, is basically a hybrid. It's a lot of Jedi die in this one. Spoiler alert. But he's using a hybrid. Form 7 kind of mixed with Form 5, and then he's also using the Jarkai technique of using 2 blades, because he's got what they call a Shuto blade, a shorter blade, which he reveals later. In fact, if I can get the move here, when he kills the apprentice here, yep, he takes out his second one and deceptively uses 2 blades at once. And that was a big reveal, as I said before. So this Sith is using a bunch of different styles together. And the Jedi even talk about in this fight how unorthodox the guy's style is. It's very unpredictable. That's why he was so much to handle for these guys. The ninth style, or at least one that's mentioned in lore now, is Trakata. And this is what this guy is going to be mainly known for, because this is the style where it's not only based on using two blades, or you can use two blades, but it also is a very unorthodox style that was looked down upon by the Jedi, because it says in addition to the main lightsaber forms, there are also several forbidden forms. This was your forbidden form, so to speak. It's likely that during the High Republic era, Juyo was one of these. Certainly Trakata was, and this technique has only been seen in the Acolyte so far. So in this show is the first time they've shown this. Basically, a practitioner of Trakata switches their lightsaber off during combat, wrong footing their opponent, taking the opportunity to angle their own blade for a lethal strike. It's seen as thoroughly dishonorable by the Jedi, and long and short of it, because you're basically cheating. But I like that whole mindset, because that's basically what you got to do. If a fair fight if you want, but if you're trying to fight to win, then you might go ahead and use this style where you're turning your lightsaber off. If someone may be pushing against yours, you turn them off, they're off balance, they go one way, you go the other, and then you reignite your lightsaber and it's in a different place. So I like that whole idea. I like the whole idea of blending this. It says also the Stranger and the Acolyte blended Juyo, Trakata, and even Jarkai, which I mentioned before, demonstrating a great degree of training and skill. His Cortosis armor, which is the armor that we're talking about, the helmet. So every time the Jedi were hitting his helmet, it was short-circuiting their lightsabers for a little bit, and then they had to reignite the lightsabers. Cortosis armor appears to have been carefully chosen to compensate for the defensive weaknesses of both of these forms, and is unclear whether a Jedi or Sith using Trakata would survive long without such tools. Star Wars will surely build on this more going forward, and I believe they will. So what say you? Were you guys into this? Those are my fans or Kung Fu family out there, Kung Fu Chronicle family out there that are into not only fighting and fighting methods, but swordsmanship. And does that blend well into the Star Wars lore, which I think it does, because obviously there's always that swordplay element. Are you guys into it at all? Let me know. Oh, comment section's alive. Says the Sith defeats the Jedi troops too easily. That force pull into the blade was epic. Yes. His helmet is Mandalorian Beskar. Actually, the helmet is Cortosis. So it's not Beskar. Beskar is the metal, for those unaware, used in the Mandalorian. Yes. So the Mandalorian got the Beskar armor. So it's actually Cortosis, they say, and that's what in the lore, it's only been talked about in the comic lore, or in books, I should say, High Republic books. They talk about this metal that can short circuit lightsabers, and that's what the stranger here, the unknown Sith master, is using. The forms are fictional. Yes, they're absolutely fictional. They're Star Wars lore, so you can look them up. They've been part of the lore since George Lucas, was in control of them. Yeah, the idea of forbidden forms. Yeah, I think you're right. The idea of forbidden forms is silly, because in my estimation, you got to use what you got to use to win, right? So there you go. In my estimation, it ain't really fighting if you're not cheating. We say that in Krav all the time. If you're not cheating, you're not really doing Krav, because at the end of the day, it's not about sportsmanship. It's not a sport. We're fighting to win, because we're fighting for our lives, possibly. Now, okay, circling that back to Star Wars lore, I think that's basically the same concept of the Sith. They're going to do whatever they got to do to win. This guy's not fighting. He's not fighting like a gentleman. He's fighting to win. So that whole Cortosis, as you see there, that's him also using the his helmet. So in this case, one of the Jedi grabbed the helmet, picked it up, and it short circuits the Sith lightsaber, right? And he tried to use it against him. But of course, the Sith goes ahead and breaks his neck. And again, we're back into the martial arts land from there. So it's a very brutal, very good fight. But I will say this as I wrap things up tonight. Yes. Who's in the house? Andrew Wordner. What's up, buddy? Yes, smash that like button for me. Please do that. And he says the first Cortosis appearance was in Jedi 1998. Was I Jedi 1998? Okay, so good to know. But yes, they have confirmed that this medal is the cortosis medal that I mentioned before. So there you go. So a lot of things, a lot of lore brought in. Okay, Shin Batman. Just gonna jump in the comments here for a second. I want to answer a couple of things, or at least give y'all some love for all my people. For those in the chat, what's up? What's up? Yes, it's Shin Batman 84. I hope your second degree black belt test went well. It did, sir. We talked about that earlier in the live. So yeah, you can back the live up at your leisure. Talked about that, and I've got my recap of the test on the channel, so you guys can check that out. And yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to go ahead again and thank you guys for tuning in, as always, supporting. Can't do this thing without you guys helping me grow the channel, get the word out there. Of course, we're going to grow this even more and more and more. Final word I will say, since I went off a little bit different today, talking about fighting styles in Star Wars, because there's some relation with martial arts usage in there, and then of course sword play, but I'm still a little bit biased. I think the very best best sword fight, lightsaber fight, whatever in Star Wars so far will always be, yeah, I'm calling it right now, Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. That's still my favorite. That's still just a badass from beginning to end fight. And I'm going to just leave it there. I know I can already see the comments lighting up now. Like, what? I think it's better than the one they just put on the Acolyte. I'll at least say that. Even if you've got disputes on, you've got better ones in movies, I could say that. Because Empire is still one of my favorite ones to watch. Luke versus Vader, that's a classic. But this, as far as this was the one redeeming factor of Phantom Menace. This is the movie that this is from. I didn't really enjoy Phantom Menace. I know some people out there like it, and you're fine, but this is the only redeeming factor was Darth Maul, and this fight was amazing, amazingly choreographed. So props again to Nick Gillard for doing such an amazing job with these fights. But yeah, what say you guys? Are you checking out the Acolyte? Have you at least checked out the fight? Have you checked it out? Was it up to snuff? Did it make you want to watch more episodes? I'm at least in. We've only got 3 more, and I want to see where it goes towards the end. And if nothing else, I'll get hopefully some more answers on who the true Sith Lord will be, because I don't think it's going to be this this Sith Master that they've unveiled this past week. I think there's a bigger bad coming up, and I hope there is, because for those that are really deep in the lore, not to get too deep down the rabbit hole, but Darth Plagueis, I hope that's where we're leading to, at least with this. And this guy is just the apprentice of him, which is what I'm hoping. Could be wrong, because the Acolyte, it definitely goes in every which way, trying to throw people off. And I read a lot of comments about how this is basically a play on the Parent Trap. So one sibling switches places with the other, which is basically what ended up happening at the end of this episode. But I want to see where things go. You never know. Hopefully we'll be pleased at the end. For those that are hating on the show, give it a shot and see before you hate completely. Maybe take a look from episode 1 through 5, rewatch. It may be worth the rewatch. But I get it. For those that are heavy into the lore, I get the complaints that I see heavy online. Let's see here, more comments. Let's see. They should have explained the cortosis in the episode. Yeah. Who's to say that they won't? They probably will in the coming episodes. Or even if they don't, there's probably going to be a mention of it again, because again, the Sith Master in this episode picked up the helmet, so he's still got the helmet. And I'm sure at least there's going to be a question of, hey, how'd you do that? Or the Jedi debrief, hey, how did he short circuit our stuff? That's probably a conversation that the main Jedi in the show, Soul is his name, by the way, in the show, should talk about. Ray Park, because he's a martial artist who made that scene. Yes, Ray Park. Yes, Ray Park made this scene epic. You're absolutely right. Ray Park was a wushu practitioner, is a wushu practitioner, still martial arts extravaganza genius. Guy was top notch, and that's why George Lucas actually picked him. He was a stunt guy and said, hey, you'd be great to just do this part. It's like, why even recast this with somebody else? We already got a martial artist to do the moves. And yeah, quick plug, trying to get Ray Park on the show to do an interview as well. So he's another name on my bucket list here for prospective people that I'm trying to get on the show to interview. Let's see. What witchcraft did they use to create the girls? Yeah, that's the question. That's an episode 3 thing. Again, I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole tonight with this. It's not really a Star Wars show. I just want to talk about the fighting in Star Wars, specifically the sword play. But yeah, for those that are fans, and obviously a lot of guys in my chat right now, you guys are fans of the show, or you've been watching it at least, and keep up. Well, I'll do a follow-up to this next week on next week's chat, so that we can all talk about it, and then talk about hopefully more good fight scenes that we can all come together and like. Because even if you don't like the show, you got to give the choreographers some props. Shout out to all the hardworking stunt crew that put in all that time to give us fights like this. Because I'm telling you, a fight like we saw in the Acolyte, that's not done in a day, man. Those guys take days and days and days of not only rehearsal, but just going through it and going at it, and really doing their thing to get all this down pat and get it together. The choreography is pretty brutal in this. That's one thing I liked. It's a lot more dark. Even though I love the Darth Maul Qui-Gon Obi-Wan fight, this one's a lot darker, because people are dying left and right and getting neck snapped and all that. You don't see that a lot in Star Wars up till now. Yeah, so there you go. Those are my thoughts. Anyway, you guys drop them on down in the comments. I'll definitely follow up. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share with the friends, with the people that you think would be into this content. We'll get more people involved, and that's how we do it.
Don't just stand there, like and subscribe.
Yeah, man. Give yourself some love tonight for tuning on into the chat. I know a whole lot's going on a Sunday. Some people are Game of Thrones people. So you took your time to not to skip that and watch me, and then I really appreciate that if you did that. So props to yourself. We'll be back again in another week. It's going to be a short week, 4th of July week, so I'm headed on a trip for the summer, but I will get in one more live before I head out. So I promise you guys that before I head out for that trip. So next Friday, back at the same usual time. It's going to be, what time are we using? 8:30 my time, which is Pacific time. So that would be 11:30 if you're East Coast. And you can adjust accordingly time-wise for your zones. But once again, thank you guys so much for being a part of the chat tonight. Live stream. We'll see you all, talk to you all in a week. Any questions or any comments, concerns, leave them down below, and suggestions for upcoming lives or upcoming interviews. And by the way, there's a very special interview. That's my next project that's coming up. Got another Kung Fu master on the horizon that you guys are going to enjoy the next interview in a week or so. You guys are going to see that one. So keep locked for that. And I will talk to you all later. Wait, one more comment. So was Osha dead? Osha's one of the twin sisters. No, Osha's not dead. She was picked up by the Sith master and taken away. He healed her, actually. He did like a healing thing. So if you rewatch the episode, he healed her injury, and then he threw her on board his ship, and they were out of there. So, yep, there you have it. All right, guys, you guys stay safe. See you all in the next round, which is next week for our lives. And you guys, as usual, keep punching. Happy Sunday.